Okay everyone, in today's tutorial I'm going to show you how to set up automatic exposure bracketing with your Canon 80D. So the first thing we need to do is go into our menu system. Okay, once we're in the menu system, we actually need to go over and configure a few options first. You can get there by going up to the little setup area. Here we go, for your custom functions. Alright, the one we need to go into first is the one at the very top, exposure. Go ahead and hit the set button and open that one up. Okay, wonderful. Once we're in our custom functions, we need to go over and change a few things. But first, you may want to adjust a few options while we're at it. I have mine set to 1/3 stop increments for my exposure, as well as for my ISO speed. You may want to configure those to 1/3 if they're not already on that. Okay. You can turn bracketing auto cancel on or off depending on your own personal options. Okay. Now the other option here is our sequence. Normally it is actually done in a normal exposure, underexposure, and an overexposure, especially when a lot of people are doing just 3 exposures for the HDR images. Now I have mine done underexposure, normal exposure, then overexposure, but you can change it here. Just simply hit your set button. You can go up and choose it to set it normally, which is probably the default that it comes with. Or you can set it these other options. Like I said, I prefer under normal than over. Okay, now once we got that, let's go over one more. Now here's where we can choose the amount of bracketed photos that we want. By default, it's set to 3 shots. However, you can hit your set button and also choose 2 images. So for example, you just want a normal exposure then over, or under then over, or whatever your personal choice is. Okay, a lot of people like to shoot 5 bracketed photos for the HDR images. Some people like to use 7. And it really depends on your camera, your dynamic range of your camera, and your own personal taste. Now, also, if you're working with images that are really bright on one end and really dark on others, you may want to use 5 or 7. Me, for my own personal use for most of my images, I just leave it on 3. Okay, once we got that set, just hit set, and we're done. Okay, now let's hit menu and go back into your other menu settings. Okay, now let's go back to the first option here on a normal shoot, and let's go over to shoot 2. Okay, the option at the top is exposure compensation or automatic exposure bracketing. Let's hit set. Currently you can see little lines moving here. Now you can adjust these with the actual dial on top next to your shutter button at the very top of your camera. Now for example, automatic exposure bracketing is now turned off. We can increase it, from 1/3 stop over and under, or full 1 stop under, 1 stop over, and a normal. Normally people use 2 under or normal and 2 over. It's really up to you. Now the more photos you have this set to, say like 5 or 7, the more options you'll have here to really open that up. But once you choose what you want, go ahead and set OK. Okay. Now the camera is actually ready and set up to actually take exposure, bracketed exposures. There's a few options you may want to consider. For example, here I got mine set to high speed shooting. Now let's go over here and turn that one on. And if you're shooting handheld, you may want to leave that high speed. And I find it using handheld, high speed works really well. Okay. Go back in there one more time. The camera was kind of getting impatient. Now, if you're shooting on a tripod, I highly recommend setting it to a 2-second timer. That way you can go ahead and hit your shutter button, let the camera get time to stop shaking, and it will automatically take all the photos for you, like so. And there you go. The camera just took all 3 shots for us. So we can now take those photos and combine them in software in the computer to create our own bracketed HDR images.